Hi, folks. So, I'm sorry I pissed a lot of you off last time. Um, didn't mean to. And, you know, Bo was talking about canceling brunch, and I took it the wrong way. I thought he meant canceling brunch with half the country, which was the mistake that Hillary made. Um, Even if she didn't say those exact words in the way that people took it, that's what she did. Um, I don't want to repeat that mistake. And anyway, um, today I want to talk about freedom of the internet, freedom of the press, the internet, and Samizdat. Um, in Russia, during the Cold War, well, we called it Russia, the Soviet Union, um, they had a real tight cancel culture run by the government. They would throw you into gulag, and nobody would hear from you for a very long time. Um, in this country, we have freedom of the press, which until, let's say, the 1970s, late 1980s, meant that, it was the job of the press to ferret out corruption in the government and expose it and, you know, try to keep the amount of corruption to an acceptable level. You're never going to get it to zero, but just to get it to an acceptable level. Um, and then as I grew up, I'm old, um, as I grew up, that they got rid of something called the fairness doctrine, which basically said you're using the public airwaves, and in order to do that, you have to broadcast news that's fair and balanced. And if you don't get your license renewed. And then they proceeded to do that public service in exchange for being able to sell people ads and programming and everything else. And it worked fairly well until cable came along, and you no longer had just the five or 3 to 10 local channels depending on where you lived. Um, so the fairness doctrine went away. Um, so now we have a bunch of competing outlets that don't all say the same thing, and President Obama pointed out we don't all live in the same reality anymore. Um, you have news outlets that are telling a narrative, pushing a story instead of telling the truth in a fair and balanced way. Um, they all have a narrative to tell. You know, Now some of them, like print publications, have to tell you the truth somewhere in there. They can't just outright lie because libel laws and things like that, defamation. So they'll say one thing in the headlines, and then if you look in the detail, it's there somewhere. Now, as far as TV and other places, you've got video. If you've got like flames behind you and somebody says mostly peaceful protest, well, you know, you're trying to spin the story. You're cherry picking reality. It's like those things where they ask everybody, where's the United States on the map? And only like one person can find it. Well, they, they shot the video of hundreds of interviews, and most of them did it. And they only showed you the ones that didn't. They cherry picked. So these days, media, they all cherry pick the truth. And, when it fits their narrative, you'll see it. And if it doesn't fit their narrative, you won't hear about it. So it's not outright lying, but it's deception by omission. And then, some people come along and just outright lie all the time and make shit up because, well, they don't have character, and that's that. So anyway, I'm just a guy in his garage with a camera pointed at him and talking to a camera in the garage. And, this is all getting recorded to an SD card. It's going to take that, throw it in my computer, compress it a little bit so that it takes less time to upload, and then it goes straight to YouTube. And as long as I don't say anything objectionable to Google or anybody else, life is good. Um, you know, they nominally get the right to put ads on this, even though in this case I don't have ads, so I'm not going to get pushed on their platform as much. But they put ads on this in exchange for, writing on the back of what I wrote, and their cost is they provide the infrastructure that takes this set of bits that I'm creating right now, and sending it, hosting it, and sending it to you. And it's not a huge cost, and you could do it yourself. And I'm going to be exploring that in the next couple weeks. But right now, if you don't have anything political and you just want to just talk to friends and share a hobby that's not controversial, it's the way to go. There's other platforms, and I think it's important to always keep those in mind should you need to host your stuff elsewhere. Now, if you are somebody who thinks you're going to say something that eventually is going to upset somebody, and the way things are going these days, it could be any off-the-cuff remark about anything you don't think is political. It's important to have your stuff archived somewhere that's not subject to that kind of censorship. Web hosting is cheap if you want to put up a website and you just want to type things out and have a bunch of words that people read as text. You can host more than you could ever write in your lifetime for like $5 a month, and it's it'll all fit in a little thumb drive. It's amazing. If you want to talk and just do audio recordings, it's still pretty small, and it's amazing how much you can fit in a thumb drive or in a website and a download. You can do podcasting with your own website, but for convenience, that's kind of congregating into smaller and smaller, fewer choices. Video, this is big. This is on the order of 10 megabytes a minute, at least. I've done some experiments on my last video. 10 minutes compressed down to about 100 megabytes. No, 10 megabytes compressed down, 10 minutes compressed down to 100 megabytes. If you tried to go below that, it did not go well. So, there's some experiments I'm going to be doing probably on this video itself. I'll re-upload it in lower and lower and lower resolutions, and I would appreciate comments from you as to how acceptable the quality is. So, I'm sorry I'm rambling. I need to write up notes. I don't know how Bo does it. He seems to just get up in front of the camera and say what he wants to say, and he's done. Probably from his years in journalism and his training before that, giving situation reports. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out how people can share their opinion as low cost as possible and as censorship resistant way as possible, with the least amount of effort. We want people to be able to talk amongst themselves and have a conversation that's not gated by some large faceless corporation that is only doing things because of money. I'm not doing this because of money. I'm doing this because I'm curious about what's possible. And I think at this point it's possible to make a difference in the overall picture, because we just had lots of evidence tossed around that everybody's seen regardless. It's possible to relate to people from either side of this, recent election and things like that. So, and the pandemic and everything else. So, there's lots of evidence and lots of ways to go. Remember when, and get in touch with other people's perceptions. So, wow, I've been rambling for a while. Let's call this here. Thank everybody. Thanks. I want to thank you all for your attention, your positive and especially your negative comments. I mean, if I'm doing something stupid, just call me out on it. Thanks. Bye.